my first job, I was at a company where we had to post 3 times a day, 7 days a week, and I was the only person doing content. And we had all social channels, and I was just drowning. Like, I didn't even have a chance to think about strategy or anything, because they were just like, the algorithm says that's what you have to do. Here, we don't do it by you have to post every day of the week or anything like that. We do it when it feels right, and I've actually found that that can be so much more rewarding, because like quality over quantity goes a long way as well. So if it feels like you don't have enough in you to do it every single day, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's just you want to make sure that what you put out there is the best it can be.
Same thing every time. Like, that doesn't work.
Under a sign. It's always under a sign.
Yours looks stupid as well.
Oh, mine looks...
There we go.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, sweetie.
Have a guess where we are. As you will see behind us, we're at Innocent. It's somewhere that we've wanted to come for a long time, and for good reason. And we've stolen someone's meeting room. So we're going to have to be really quick, because they have such an incredible culture and social media team, and we wanted to see who it was behind the scenes and who's running the team. And it's been a lot of fun.
This is such a lovely full circle moment, because I think a lot of folks in the community would have looked at Innocent's marketing over the years and resonated with it, spoken about it, put it on a pedestal, and today we got to see the human beings behind those stories, those campaigns, that social media, and it was just lovely. And they were so smart, so practical, gave great advice. Genuinely one of the best interviews that we've ever given.
I think so, yeah.
So it's a really fabulous time with really nice people like Samira, who's off camera.
Samira is not going to feature in this video. She is, I'm going to borrow it.
But yeah, a really fabulous time, so I really hope you enjoy this video, and another great day with
it's been fab.
A nice mate.
I don't like strawberry and banana.
So what would be your
I love like mango citrusy stuff, so like Tropical Defense, the smoothie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Top tier.
Nice.
Big fan.
So this is like you being a foodie though as well. Like even the way you described that answer was like, oh yeah, my flavour palette is like acidic citrus.
I know what I like and I eat it.
Need a bit of umami at 32 degrees and I'm a happy person.
I actually can't taste umami, which I found out working here as well. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. There's we've got a tasting academy, so you can be part of an expert panel. So whenever they want to try new drinks before like opening it up to wider people, they have some people here do it. And you have to do a test, and you get 5 glasses, all with water-looking liquids, but one's slightly salty, one's slightly sweet, one's with umami, one's just water, and then one's bitter. And I had to guess, and everyone when they tried the umami was like, oh, that's really, really strong, and to me it just tasted like water. So I was just sat there like, yeah, that is really, really strong. And then
so could you, like, I mean, for the benefit of folks watching, and so what do you actually do day to day? What are your roles in the team, so to speak?
Who wants to start? You start. Okay. So I'm the social media manager here. So my day-to-day is the proactive side. We like to differentiate between proactive and reactive, which I think is also very different to how other companies do their socials. So my job is kind of running the content that goes out on the social media channels, any campaigns we have. I do kind of delve into the wider digital space as well, so connecting the channels we have on website and social, and if we're doing campaigns and we want like a customer journey with our newsletters and things like that, making sure that's all intertwined as well. Yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell.
So I'm European People's Champion Manager, and People's Champion is really cool, but no one ever knows what it is or what it does. So our People's Champions are essentially our community managers. Sometimes they're just community managers, sometimes they're community managers as part of being a brand manager, depending on the region. So while the social media managers for the regions do all the proactive, look at these posts, we look after the drinkers, so that's kind of our role is to get back to people, provide the funny comments, provide the caring comments when they need them, get back to everyone if possible, even the tough stuff is really important. So my role is just making sure that all our lovely People's Champs have everything they need to do that properly day to day.
Essentially, you like the fuse Get out there and you sort out all the problems.
And we pick up all the pieces. Yeah, exactly that.
It's a great partnership.
Yeah, weirdly it works. It does work though.
It's really like one of the things that I was thinking on. I was sort of noting down some thoughts last night, and I was like, how do you? Social is a 24/7 job. Like, there's no rest, and we're a really small team, and don't put out half as much content as we should because it sits with me and I get distracted and then
don't say that about yourself. Shame.
3 days go by and I'm like, oh, I still haven't posted. But actually, one of the things that's really rewarding is like responding to comments. Like when we put a post out there and you get chatting with the community, you feel it. You kind of get that. But like that's going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How do you manage that? Like,
well, no, I think we've got a really brilliant team. Like a team, our People's Champs really care about people and we want to speak to people. So every day there is someone, we kind of almost have like a rota of who's covering what channel on what day. And sometimes it's quite hard because we put out a really funny post, so all the comments are really hilarious and you have to just be on really great form to respond. So we've got very talented, our community managers are almost copywriters as well, so they're not just like, sometimes I get a bit offended if people say, oh, they're customer service teams, and I'm like, oh, no. Yes, one part of it is, but a lot of it is a creative kind of angle. So it's having people on most of the time every day. We have our content management system that we use that also highlights any issues to us outside of hours. We'll get certain emails if it was something urgent. Luckily, haven't had anything that I can remember recently that's set off, but anything that would be kind of an issue we'll be aware of. But luckily we've got a really nice community of people that speak to us, so normally it's just coming in the morning and being like, right, how funny can I be today? How lovely can I be? How charming can I be? So it's a really fun role and really rewarding because we're here to make people smile. So every day that's what we come in to do. So it's really, really cool job.
That's so cool. I mean, it's such a lovely ethos, but like guess I hear you say funny, and like, so I've got a brother and my brother's the funny one, right? And I'm like the boring one. But like, funny's hard. Like, funny's hard, especially online.
Yeah. I mean, the two previous social media managers now are stand-up comedians. So like, that was the bar I had to take over, and I was like, I am not a stand-up comedian. I am not. But I think like our team, we work really closely together. So even though we have like proactive and reactive as separate, I guess, titles and teams, we will have weekly, if not 2 to 3 times a week, get-togethers for creative reasons, but also to go on and like exchange what's going on. So it's kind of a really good setup to make sure that we're in the loop from the proactive side of what are people saying. And a lot of the times what people say is ideas, or part of the reason where we get ideas from is we can see, okay, loads of people have mentioned this and this, maybe that's something we should talk about, to kind of, I guess, give the community what they want.
Presumably that makes your job quite hard, as much as you go, right, well, we're going to plan, I don't know how far ahead you plan, but let's say you're planning 6 months worth of content, and then all of a sudden something happens in the world and you're almost that perfect brand to respond to it. Like, I don't know, something happens at a big sporting event and
like,
there's
which
nothing,
one are you referring to?
but there's nothing that you can't plan that, right? So
no, you can't. No.
Does that then sit on your shoulders, or is it because it's part of what you're already talking about? I
think this is where, like, because we have an open stream of communication, it's just whoever spots it will pop it in, and then it will be like my responsibility to actually create whatever we're putting out there, but I will always have other people feed in. So I'm a firm believer of the best creative output is coming from several people at once. So I wouldn't say any of the posts that we've put out has been one person and one person alone doing it. It's always been a collaboration. I'm just kind of the person responsible of overseeing that collaboration and making sure we get from end to end, is how I see it.
We're like the eyes and ears that listen out for the things that we can then be like, here you go, Annie, take this. Right. I think, believe it or not, we do actually have a strategy in content. I think it's really easy to kind of look at what we do and just be like, oh, they're just kind of having a laugh. I mean, our goal as a company is to get 1 billion portions of fruit and veg into people by 2030. And to do that, we've got like a process in place to, yes, speak about fruit and veg because that's really important to us. But we know as a brand, people aren't going to just follow us because we're talking about fruit and veg. Like, that's cool and it's important and it's really important to us. But we know also people want to know about the weather or about big sporting events, or they just want, people come to us for a bit of almost like comic relief when something's happened, and in order to do that, it means people care when we talk about the important stuff as well. So it's all about making sure you've got that balance of the silly fun stuff, but it's so that people listen when you're talking about the important things.
So do you have like a rule of thumb with that? You know, like, is it going to be like, I don't know, you know, 5 whimsical things for every one post about fruit, you know, or something like that?
Yeah,
you know?
we do have like a general, like, we do it in percentages, not by amount of posts, because some months we'll be on fire and we'll be putting like 60 posts out, and some months it will be a bit of a slow month and it will be like 10. So we don't do it, we have to post so and so many posts a week or so and so many posts a month. We've just kind of got, these are the themes that we know we have to talk about this month. These are something, like, we always leave a bit of space for little magic is what I call it. So like little magical nuggets that pop up, which is very reactive stuff. So for example, England potentially going to the finals and things like that. We always leave a little bit of wiggle room for those kind of things as well, because things do just pop up whenever. And I wouldn't want to kill that with a pre-planned post that we can use whenever instead. So we do it based on percentiles usually.
And I think although we have those as well, we have a content brainstorm each week as a team, where Annie will not bring out the fleshed out idea, but it'd be like, here's the general theme. And we'll just use that and find really creative random ways to try and come up with a post. So like at one point we did, we had almost like a bingo card of random words, and we brought it and we were like, you have to include these words in the content somewhere, but make it about smoothies or juice or fruit and veg. Like, use these words though, and they were completely like jellyfish, stapler, planet.
Dartboard.
Like, yeah, they'd be totally random, but then it's, everyone has to come up with an idea based on one of those words or something. So just to try and create a random idea, but it's actually come from needing to talk about a product or needing to talk about.
Well, I suppose that's where creatives are at their best, is connecting things that like don't make any sense to the thing that you're supposed to be talking about, but actually is maybe topical or
connecting the dots.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't feel like there's any dots connected at all. So for example, you said stapler there.
Yeah.
And you know, like, one of my favourite things ever was just the stapler going on tour. Yeah.
I think that was so good as well, because so many people thought that we'd brought loads of separate staplers and then just put the same label and taken it. But it was genuinely this one stapler just travelling around, and like sometimes that's actually where we're in a really lucky position, where we're in a brand that people already love, and that's like thanks to the hard work years before we were here and years of excellent brand people and social media managers and everyone who's built Innocent to the brand it is. But because people love us, we have that freedom to just be like, someone took this, they shouldn't have. It's funny, let's post it. So that's really cool, and that's where we've got the freedom that we can just post the silly stuff. But that's what people love, because it's, like you said, it's unexpected for a brand, and maybe a big claim, but I think Innocent was one of the first brands to do that.
It's not a big claim, it's true.
Yeah, true. Okay, I was trying to be humble, but yeah, I think it was started like, now there's a lot of brands who are have found that human element. I think Innocent was the first brand that really was like, best thing to do is to be human, and that went for everything, not just social.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was before social media even existed. On our bottles we have our banana phone number, and that's been on, that was the first purchase the founders made for the company, was buy this banana phone so that people could call
literally a banana shaped phone.
So like from the very first bottles they put out there, that phone number was there. So I think because from day dot it's been built on human connection, like social media has been an extension of that, but everyone who's been going through the roles of working in the Innocent brand has always brought it back to that human connection. And because that's prevailed for so long, that's kind of what the magic of the brand is now. And yeah, it's bigger now and people know it for different reasons, but the heart of it has always stayed the same, and that's been since 1999. Yep, 1999.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting, because one of the things that walking into today, I was thinking about is how you have carried on, because 25 years this year. Yeah. You know, but everything you've spoken about there is about that humanity and that authenticity, and like, I also wondered about like how you don't get scared posting, you know, because you're going out to such a big audience. But like,
We do.
I was going to say, it's
there's
pretty
still
wild.
the risk, yeah.
I still remember the first time I actually pressed post, I was like, this could go horribly wrong.
Yeah. And as well, I think there's always the risk. You only know what you've read or what you've seen recently. There's always a risk something's happened that you just haven't seen the minute before you've posted or anything like that. So there's always a risk. And also, humour itself is quite individual. So what you could really back yourself and be like, this is so funny. And then you post it and people were like, it just flops because no one gets it. So something we've always tried to do is you should look at an innocent post and you get it. Like it's clever enough that you're like, oh, I like what they did there, but it's not clever enough that you're like, to get the joke you have to have seen this or done this or done everyone.
So
it should be
as humour goes.
Yeah, we try to be playful and a bit unexpected, but we want as many people as possible to see it and be able to relate to it in a way. We still try to be clever now and again, but we hope that as many people can see it and understand it. You should get it.
That's probably something we should learn from, because we send out our weekly emails with all sorts of random stuff in that makes us chuckle. And I reckon about 10% of our audience actually understand what the hell we're doing.
But also that's also part of the kind of charm that I love. We can put it out. Someone might see it and laugh. Doesn't mean they're going to like and comment. But I like to think that even if someone sees it and they're just like, nice,
on the train,
and then just carry on. Even if they don't see it. Like for me, that's why I love it, and that's why I've stuck around so long. We're literally here to make someone's day a little bit better, no matter what their day is, like, which is so important.
Just love that you come back to that though. Like seriously, like I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Like you said that twice in two different ways. Like with and like that feels so uplifting and positive.
Yeah, I think it gives us a purpose as well. I think it's really easy to get caught up in trying to do the strategy and trying to think, let's plan and do this and do this, and actually every time it comes back to actually what will do that for someone and what.
Yeah. And I suppose when you look at humour through that lens, you're less likely to get cancelled because it's. Do you know what I mean? Because you're trying to do something. You're not trying to make people laugh by
trying to be funny.
Or like you're not. I'm trying to think of a comedian that's
It's not at people's expense.
Yeah.
The joke always is at our expense.
We have that rule of like, you need to, whatever we do, we should always be the ones looking bad, not other people. Because I think it takes that heat off. But I think as well, like going back to how important community management is, I feel so much less nervous posting even things that might be about harder stuff, because I know the team that we have are so brilliant at managing people who might get upset over something. So like the power we have in terms of being able to respond open and honestly to other people, and even if we get things wrong, holding our hands up and saying, yeah, actually maybe we shouldn't have done that, or what do we know, we were clearly silly enough to say something like this. Like my favorite example is the conker milk joke that we put out there, and then I think it was a couple of years ago, they posted, because we did nut milks, RIP, we don't anymore, but they were like, we've got almond milk, we've got oat milk, but now we've also got conker milk, as a joke.
Right.
Turns out conker milk's actually poisonous to people.
Conkers are really severely poisonous to people.
Severely poisonous to people. So we were told, obviously, like that's not okay. We need to make it very clear that people can't make conker milk at home,
So
and that was a joke.
Go out then?
It went out, and a lot of people were like, we're going to go make it now, and then we had to be like, no, wait, don't. But we created a joke around it, just being like, do not eat conkers, and we sponsored the official English conker championship with our other nut milks and stuff like that. So we basically, we held our hands up and we were like, we should not have said that. We totally see that now. We did not know, but in case you didn't know either, never eat conkers. They're poisonous. Stay away from conker milk.
And like to this day, people's comments, if we're like, hey guys, we've made this, and they're like, oh, you should do a conker drink. Like people still now are like, oh, how about a conker recipe? Playing on, and it's been like 6 years or something since we've done it.
Yeah.
But that's also to just build on what Annie said, because we're a brand that we're human, we can admit we've made mistakes. So actually that's kind of the content that does really well. When we accidentally do something, it ends up really working in our favour. And like our blue campaign that just went crazy was just because we were like, this is blue, and everyone was like, this is green, and we were like, no, it's blue. And it just caused this huge debate on the internet. And actually the thing with us is we'll then double down. We don't tend to back out of what we've said when we've said something. So then we're like, we'll get Duncan in from blue. We'll do this from blue. We're launching another blue drink. Oh, we'll get Lee from blue as well. So once we commit to saying something, we kind of build on it and build on it. So we were like, yeah, we said, apart from obviously conkers that are poisonous, but then we were like, oh, we've said don't, so then we'll just blew it up, and we did so many posts of please don't have conkers, please don't drink conker milk, we did this mistake.
So with the blue campaign, if you like, you launched the drink, did you know from the get-go that people were going to go, it's green? No. Okay.
No.
So what was did the original campaign, did you just kind of go, chuck that in the bin?
Originally it didn't really have a campaign.
I think the idea
it's
was
a new
it's
drink.
blue, it's cool.
Yeah,
Like,
it's the first blue drink out there. It's a new drink, it's cool. And then people were like, but it's green.
And that was
And then you were like, bang.
Yeah.
community managers were like, we're getting loads of comments of people arguing it's green. And then all of a sudden, the social media manager at the time was like, great, let's just double down and be stubborn. And that's where the social media manager will kind of lead how we approach things. So at the time, that social media manager could have gone, oh, actually, yeah, just let people say, oh, yeah, it is a bit green. And he was like, again, no, double down, it's blue. So now when Annie posts something, she's like, oh, by the way, if anyone questions, like, if silly things, like if someone brings up Christmas, we're like, no, you can't talk about Christmas yet. So then we're all on the same page. So with the blue campaign, he was like, no, we need to convince people they're so wrong. Like, let's just gaslight everyone. Let's tell everyone. And then there's people bringing up like colour wheels and colour charts going, no, look, if you look at it on the like Pantone, it's this and
So
this.
we made our own colour wheel.
Yeah, we've made our own colour wheel. We're like, no, it's different. And we still stand by it's blue.
Now we've got Blueberry
Um,
Focus out as well. So now everyone's like, that's a blueberry drink, but it's not blue.
Yeah. I
It's
think
ongoing.
it as well, it was then recognising, oh, people really like this. So then it just was building and building and building. And actually, we had the opportunity to utilise that and just jump on it. So it was really, really cool, really fun.
So when you have things like that, so I know that there's going to be a bunch of our community who have to look after social media, and they'll have a hierarchy within their organisation where in some cases it will be like, well, the CEO has to sign everything else off, you know, and there'll be everything in between. Some people will just be left to their own devices. That doubling down and that, like, you know, really pouring fuel on the flames of like the blue thing turned out to be an amazing campaign. But was the sort of approval thing just the marketing manager, and like
I think back
at
in the day,
what point
it was,
do people further up kind of go, this is great, like?
I mean,
going.
for something like blue, the drink's blue, we all believe it's blue. So that's not controversial. So of course it was just, it's blue, everyone's blue.
I swear I write that every week, at least twice a week.
Someone
I'm like, it's blue.
But I think the great thing about being here is you're very much trusted to do your job. You're hired for a reason, so it's important that people trust in you and believe in you. At the time, it's just oh, this is going really well. Actually, it could really help us actually sell some drinks, because at the end of the day, that is what we're trying to do. We are a business. So, if we can have a bit more budget to push this and launch this, we could get so much more people to see it. Yeah, so many more people to see it. Blah 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 blah. Actually, why wouldn't you, from a sales point of view, also be like, yeah, that's so true. So, at that point, it is just, for a subject like that, it's just the digital communities team or the marketing manager at the time. I think there's certain things where sometimes we want to push. There has to be we're quite creative. We have some ideas that then people will be like, oh, maybe just bring that back a bit. But then depending on the topic, depending on the product, if it's just a product or if it's more employer brand, what it is depends where it goes and who it goes to at a certain level.
Yeah.
So.
I think as well though, because I've always found, I've worked just in social media roles my whole life, and every company I've worked at, it's always like you're talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
The higher up you go, like the higher you go, the more people just don't get it, and they're just like, oh well, we just added a social media channel because everyone else is having social media channels, and they don't understand the actual value of it. So for me, I've always, probably the blue in me, I've been very data driven. So to collect data, I think like listening tools nowadays, the access that you can get through social, collecting that data and then going to someone, you can't prove how many people who've seen your post will go and buy that product, or how many people who've reached your post will, if you're B2B, will decide to work with your business. But what you can prove is that based on this and this much spend in, you've reached this and this many eyes. These eyes, if they keep on coming back, you can then leverage by asking them questions that are actually valuable to you as a business. So like, I like to always play the insights card with our People's Champ team is so strong and so good at having conversations. We might talk to everyone about the weather 90% of the time, but we know that if we need to ask them a question that actually might benefit us, so I don't know, what's your thought on this product? What's your thought on, I don't know, a decision we might be trying to make or might try to figure out whether we're making it or not, we know that they'll be really open to answer it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I really want to feed in. I like juices more than smoothies, or smoothies more than juices. And that's then data and insight that we can take away and we can then bring to the higher ups and say, well, you're actually spending a load of money on surveys with random people. We've got a group of audiences who we know already use our drinks or like buy our drinks. We can bring that back to you, so we can also offer you value as well. And I always think as soon as you make that connection, they're just so much more open to talking to you about any ideas you have, because they suddenly get why it exists in the first place. And sadly, I think a lot of the time the people who are higher up have never been in social media roles because they just didn't exist 10 years ago. And so it's kind of our job to educate them and explain to them why it's there and why it's important, why people create it in the first place, so that they understand that.
I also think it's quite cool. Nick, our CEO, came up to me one day and was like, oh Ellie, my daughter saw an innocent TikTok and it really made her laugh. So it's also almost just little things like that where it takes someone's like daughter or friend to be like, oh, I've seen innocent this is really funny, to someone they're like, oh good, I'm glad you've seen that. And actually hearing that as well was like, yes, we're in. So that was really cool.
I love that, and it comes back to one of your points earlier that you were speaking about, which is, you know, it's easy for us to sort of sit here and sort of speak of whimsy and, you know, like fun and stuff like that, and it's really, really important. But you said, you know, you are a business and you have a strategy, and like, you know, for them all to work in tandem and together, that's, you know, it's really, really nice, because I think, you know, particularly that insights point, that's not something I hear a lot of people speak about.
No, and I didn't know really the value of it either until I came here, because I don't know any other business that has a full team doing reactive.
No.
And usually you've got like one person who's in charge of all social media channels, doing all comments, all DMs, all like, at what point are we at? Like 10 social media channels
About
that exist right now.
jobs in one role.
Yeah. And you're then also trying to, you know, have to do paid, and maybe you have to do some other things. So you're so thin on the ground. It can be so overwhelming, and in those instances you just don't even think about these type of things. But because I think here, when I came here, I had the breathing room of not having to focus on the day-to-day interacting, and I had the breathing room to think more about like the content and the strategy itself. It helps me get some clarity on like, oh, actually no, this is something we can leverage. And I've done like a few talks sometimes in front of people who have nothing to do with even brand, like they're in a completely different department. I've always had them come up to me afterwards and say, we feel really sorry for our social media managers now, because we've just been shutting them down for the last 2-3 years because we just thought that it's all nonsense. But actually the way you've said it, it makes so much sense. And it's just that lack of education.
It's that direct line, you know, I mean, like, marketing nerds here, you know, but it's that direct line to your customer. Like, it really is, you know, I mean, you haven't...
We also have a motto as a communities team that is, if you can't be funny, be nice. Because we know that sometimes you're not going to be on your, like, we're humans as well. We come in, you might not be in the mood to be jokey and laughy, but if you can't be really funny with someone, be nice. And actually, because now and again we are really nice to people, and people appreciate that, and actually we don't shy away from tricky stuff. So whether it be COVID, when we just reached out to people and we're like, we know it's tough, but we know we're only a smoothie company, but like we get it, kind of thing, and because we're human in that sense, we're nice to people. That's why we kind of in return get this really nice feedback, and look, we can then say, look, it's actually doing something, it's making a difference, it's selling a
Similar
drink.
thing, I think during COVID, I think you sent out an email just after lockdown, just saying, like, hope you're okay, hope everyone's okay.
Yeah.
If you're having a tough time, just reply and we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
And like the amount of people that were like, But it was like, okay, cool, we'll just reply and like just give them, and it's literally just being nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think there's something so lovely about it because I think social media can feel so toxic sometimes, and it's just so nice when you can establish that human connection digitally. Because usually, like face to face, someone wouldn't start, shouting swear words at you, but then they're keyboard warriors on Twitter and they're going to have a go at you. And it's just so nice when you can then have the other end of the spectrum to that, where people are just genuinely being so lovely and so wholesome. And we love also sharing that with other people who don't work in our team, especially when we get the nice stuff through. So I don't know, recently we got one person, we'd sent them seed packs and they'd planted a hazelnut tree, I think it was, with the seeds that we'd sent them a while ago, and they just sent us a picture of the growth of the tree and it was sprouting hazelnuts for the first time. And it's things like that where we didn't ask them to do that, we didn't ask them to send us anything in return, but they still do it because they love us and they love talking to us and interacting with us, and it does just make the job 10 times nicer
And I think that's what you
easier.
said, trying to find ways on social to create human connection, because that's the thing that actually motivates people, makes people want to come back. So like in COVID, we did this really cool campaign where we said, oh, we're sure you're all missing loved ones right now. If you want to send them a postcard, just send us a message and an address and we'll do it. And actually we had loads of volunteers at Innocent. When everyone was at home and we couldn't be together, say, yeah, I'll write postcards. So we all got postcards delivered and then just had hundreds of people, and it had like a nice compliment or like a nice message on the front. And then we hand wrote and personalised every single postcard. And some of them were like really heartfelt and special, like, oh, Mum, I know it's really tricky. I can't wait to give you a big hug soon. Then one would be like, hey Dave, lol at this from whoever, and it was like, oh, okay, like, so you had some really, but that was what's really sweet, and I think that's what's really nice about the people that we do chat to. You have these really wholesome, sweet, and then you also have just the people who are funny, and actually it's just like, still, it's things like that actually, when we did that, I was like, oh, this is why I love this brand, and this is why I love what we do, because it's really cool.
I think we've got 2 questions. I'm mindful of time.
Yeah.
We've got Samira over there.
Yeah, she's like,
Nice blazer.
yeah.
So, if I may, I feel like we could ask questions all day.
It's quite fun. I thought it'd be hard. It's actually really easy, isn't it?
But that's the sign of you knowing your job, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of why we wanted to come down. Like, these guys get it. Like, you can just, well, your whole team do, and that's why we're so interested in it, and that's why everybody at home.
I mean, yeah, I think
Everybody at home. Everybody just, oh God.
in the digital atmosphere somewhere, those people. Yeah.
I like that you got the finger.
This is why I don't have a mic on. Just cut me out.
So, 2 questions to finish. One's sort of like on the harder side, and then one's on the gooder side. So, like, the one I'm going to prompt the gooder one because it's easier.
I thought you were going to do the hard
Yeah, me
one.
too. I was ready.
I'm going to prompt that, and then I'm going to go to the harder one, and then I'm going to come back to the good one. So, the thing that I'd like to know in a minute is your favourite campaign of all time that Innocent have done. So that will be the good thing to finish.
Okay.
But you've alluded to it, that toxicity in social media, and I think like fear can sometimes be part of the narrative when it comes to posting online and reacting in the comments and stuff like that. And what's been so clear with everything you've said in particular, being part of the community team, is that you handle things with positivity, kindness, humour, and all these things. And yet sometimes it will probably still go wrong and stuff like that. So do you have an approach for how you deal with that kind of thing? Because like, even today, I would say the biggest thing that I fear when I post on social is unintended harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
Which we've done. Like,
Yeah.
I know I certainly have.
But I think
Well, no, I have too.
I think bringing it back to the human side of it, no one's walked around on planet Earth and been perfectly perfect towards every single human being they've encountered. Like, it's just not possible. We're all humans, we've got layers. Everyone's backgrounds and experiences are completely different, and sometimes you won't be aware of what background someone else has, and you might say something that triggers something in them. So I think the important thing in my head is that we always own up to if we've gone the wrong way, and we'll be like, we totally see your point, like we totally see where you're coming from, instead of getting defensive, which I think a lot of businesses like to do, is kind of try and argue the reasoning behind it. Instead of getting defensive, we'll be like, we actually see where you're coming from, and even if sometimes we might not necessarily agree, we still see where you're coming from, we hear you, and maybe then we can say we'll try and find common ground in different ways and have a human, going back to the human's a big word here,
always comes
yeah,
back to
but
that,
having like a human conversation where it's not, you know, violently screaming at each other or taking a stubborn side on things.
And I think sometimes you can't win. Like there are some people who, that we try and turn people around if someone's saying something that we don't agree with, but sometimes people don't want to be turned around, and I think that's also, you see that and accepting that. Sometimes you're not going to change someone's mind, and kind of, although we try to reply to everyone, it's picking and choosing your battles. If someone's just being hurtful or abusive, actually we want to protect the people on our team who are seeing that, we want to protect the people who are reading that. It comes to a place of saying our bit and then just ignoring and shutting down the conversation. So I also think having a culture of putting your hands up, like Annie said, like we have Smoothie Heaven upstairs, which is where we send all our drinks that haven't worked, or drinks or even just limited edition. Being open about making mistakes, that also really helps, because we can just be like, yeah, we made a mistake and you're right, we were wrong.
Nice.
Thanks guys. Yeah.
Love that.
But sometimes it's like arguing with a pigeon. You just,
I mean,
you can't.
Pigeon gives us more sometimes. Honestly, sometimes it's just not worth our time. And actually, we're busy people. We've got lots going on. If we're going to go back and forth with this one person just arguing.
This is a really weird fun fact, but just because you said pigeons are actually really underrated animals. Like, did you know that in Turkey, back in like
this is what our content brainstorms are
1100
like, right?
BC,
Conversation.
they used to use the pigeon poo as glue to build their houses.
There you go.
So they had pigeonholes
I mean,
so that they could have the pigeons fly in and collect.
So if innocent doesn't work out, there's a construction company out there that needs a social media manager.
My gosh,
Incredible.
said that on camera.
That's the hook.
Right at the beginning.
Buy our juice and smoothies. Yeah.
This is why I wouldn't do stand-up comedy, because this is what would come out.
I love it. Cool. Let's finish off with favourite innocent campaign of all time. So.
I think the two that we already named, which was Conker Milk and Blue, are the ones that we're most known for. But I don't know if I'd count it as a campaign, but an ingenious strike, I think, decision we made on social was live tweeting Bake Off.
Yeah.
And I think because that's a consistent that every year is like refreshed and doing it. And I think also the experience of live tweeting is unlike anything I have ever experienced. It's quite stressful, but also really rewarding, because just for 2 hours you are just on it non-stop. You have to just constantly come up with stuff because you don't see the episode before. There's nothing you don't know what's going to happen, so you have to, I guess, channel that reactive side for like 10 weeks straight, 2 hours a week.
Wow.
And it's quite intense, but it's also so cool seeing how many people will actually just come onto our channels just to watch our live tweeting commentary.
And there's one day where we couldn't do it one evening, and everyone was like, "What's happened? Like, where are you? We need you." So people start to rely on it as well.
It's true. Like I've followed you guys. I've followed that sort of commentary without watching the Bake Off.
Yeah.
Like, which just sounds bizarre. I'm just like,
No, yeah.
I can get a sense of
get
what's
a lot
going
of
on.
people
I'm
who
like, oh, this
message
is really
that.
funny. Like,
Yeah, and I think as well, I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, why don't you do Love Island, or why don't you do this show? Like, the whole reason Bake Off was chosen is because Bake Off values are so aligned with our values. Like, we're a human brand, we're wholesome, we're playful,
Family friendly.
Well, you'd think that it would be.
Well, most of the time.
A lot of innuendos in Bake Off. But yeah, no, because that's kind of what we stand on. Like, Bake Off matches that. Love Island wouldn't match that, which is why we would never consider live tweeting Love Island.
which comes back to strategy, right?
Which
It's
comes
like-
back to strategy and comes back to, you know, insights and all that stuff. So I think it's connecting the dots is such a powerful tool when you have the ability to do it. And luckily with Innocent, we've got such a huge audience now that we really can leverage that in a really lovely way to make sure that we keep the brand alive and kind of moving with the times as best as it can. And that's kind of what our responsibility is and what we see our responsibility to be. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
I'm going to say Blue is my favourite social campaign we've ever done. I think the fact that we just kept going with it was brilliant. Like, it started off as just a debate and then turned into a whole video, and then it turned into another video and all that. So I think digitally, Blue, I think if I can be cheeky and say a non-social one, our Big Knit campaign, putting smoothies on bottles, I think it's just the most wholesome, sweet interaction you can have with people. And actually, we've now, thanks to also social, grown it, and it's been like 20 years of being able to give back to people. So it's a pretty special one.
Brilliant. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
No worries.